to you actually from my home in our upstairs game room in front of, I guess you could call it the Kelly wall of art. We even have the classic handprint turkey before any of us could draw. But I just wanted to take a second to check in with y'all and to remind you of a few different things that are still going on. And also get the chance to go over with you what Drew talked about yesterday in his sermon and how that can apply to us as students as well. But before I start, I just want to say we love you guys. We're praying for you. We miss y'all so much. But again, if you ever need anything, feel free to reach out and contact us. And we'd love nothing more than to have a conversation with y'all. One thing that's still going on, though, is our Bible reading plan, Motion X. So if you haven't had the chance to jump in on that, make sure you do that. But can I just take a pause and say that I am so proud of everybody in that plan right now. It's so encouraging to read y'all's posts and to see what y'all have taken away each day from the devotion. So keep it up, guys. You're doing awesome. Secondly, we still have our Wednesday night live stream going on. Now they're coming to you from JP's house, so you might even get to see Minnie in there a little bit. You can also ask a question that JP and Michaela are going to answer in our Ask Anything segment, so make sure that y'all join us this Wednesday for our live stream. We can't wait to see y'all there. Lastly, though, we still do have that scavenger hunt challenge going on, so make sure y'all jump on that. If you need more information, you can go to our social media page to see the different rules and the different lists of things that you can find. If you don't have social media, though, you can also text your entry if you still want to participate to Amanda, JP, or I, so that you don't have to miss out on that fun. But jumping, I guess, straight into what Drew talked about, he kicked off a new series called Unshakeable. And so in this series, he talks about finding stability in a time of uncertainty, especially like a time that we're living in right now. And so a lot of times when things change, it's really easy for us just to feel vulnerable and fragile. And so that begs the question, where do we put our hope in? And where do, as he put it, where do we put our anchor in? And how do we find that hope? And so as believers, we have the best thing to put our anchor in, right? We have Christ, we have Jesus, but a lot of times it's hard to do that practically from day to day, or to know 100% that when we do put our anchor in that, he's going to hold steadfast. But in order to figure that out, Drew starts out by reading a passage in Hebrews. And so it's going to be Hebrews 6:13 through 20. And so if you have a Bible, you can go ahead and turn there, or if not, you can read along with me. But again, it's Hebrews 6:13 through 20, and it says, "For when God made a promise to Abraham, since he had no one greater by whom to swear, he swore by himself, saying, 'Surely I will bless you and multiply you.' And thus Abraham, having patiently waited, obtained the promise. For people swear by something greater than themselves. And in all their disputes, an oath is final for confirmation. So when God desired to show more convincingly to the heirs of the promise the unchangeable character of his purpose, he guaranteed it with an oath, so that by two unchangeable things in which it is impossible for God to lie, we who have fled for refuge might have strong encouragement to hold fast to the hope that's set before us. We have this as a sure and steadfast anchor of the soul, a hope that enters into the inner place behind the curtain, where Jesus has gone as a forerunner on our behalf, having become a high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek, I believe it's pronounced. But Hebrews is a book that's filled with encouragement. And one thing that Drew talks about is that in Hebrews, it's a series of letters that are written to Christians who are at the time were being persecuted for their faith. So they were being put in jail, and they were even being killed because they were believers. And so in this passage, the author refers back to a story about God and Abraham. And if you don't know who Abraham is, he was a major character in the Old Testament, or you might know him from that old song, Father Abraham had many sons. I don't know, that was just in my head. I'm sorry if that's in your head now for the rest of the day. But in the story, God makes a promise to Abraham that he's going to bless him and that he's going to give him many sons and extend his family. But one thing that's interesting that Drew points out is how God promises Abraham, how he swears to Abraham. And in the passage, it says that God swears on himself. And so normally when we swear on something, we're swearing on something that is greater than ourselves. So typically maybe you would say, I promise to a friend, or, in a court of law, you go up to the stand and you put your hand on the Bible and you say that you're not going to lie under God. Or even one of the major ones, like, I triple dog dare you. But in this passage, God is saying that he swears on himself. So he's saying that there's nothing greater than him. There's nothing greater than God. And so having that knowledge and knowing that God is swearing on himself, we can have faith and we can trust that that promise is going to stay the same and he's going to come through on that promise and that he has control 100%. And so one of the takeaways that Drew tells us is that we have an unchangeable God who has given us an unshakable promise. And one of those promises is salvation, right? When Jesus came and died for us on the cross. And as Drew said, went ahead of us to anchor us to something that we couldn't, to anchor us to that hope of salvation that we can fully trust in. And so when we put that anchor, when we put our anchor on God, we can trust that it's never going to change and that nothing is ever going to take away that hope that we can have in him. And so going through that, we have a couple of questions for y'all as a life group on Wednesday nights in your life groups to go over. And so just like Amanda said last week, since we can't meet person to person, another way you can do this is through Zoom. You can do it through text messages. You can do it through Skype or social media, anything that works for your group. But we encourage y'all to go and still contact your group and discuss these questions. And so first of all, we encourage y'all to read the passage, which again is Hebrews 6:13 through 20. But also we have 5 questions for y'all this week to talk about and discuss in your group. So the first one is going to be, what are the things you cling to in life the most? And so maybe that would be grades, or maybe that's how other people think about you, or what college you want to go to, or even your friends, right? So what are the different things that you cling to or that you go to immediately when you feel scared? The second question is, why did God swear by himself in this passage? So looking back over the passage, what is the significance of how God promised Abraham? And why can we find so much trust in that? And why is that important of how he did that? Thirdly, how do other anchors in your life change? So if we put our anchor in something else other than God, how do those things change in your life? And what is the effects of those that it has on you? Fourthly, what are the benefits of being anchored in something that's unchanging? So when we put our anchor in Christ, how does that help us? What does that give us? And what are the benefits of doing that versus things that do change? And finally, Jesus has gone before us to secure our hope, just like Drew said. So knowing that, how does that change our perspective? Change our perspective as a whole on finding hope, but also in a time right now where the world is scared and worried and really does need a lot of hope right now. So how does that change your perspective on living and putting your anchor in Christ today? And so I encourage y'all to go and talk to those through those questions in your group so that y'all can really dive deep into those. But before I do, I just want to thank y'all for joining and for listening. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.